Hello, BookTube. From a very, very hot Sunday. It is a hot Sunday. Mid-90s Fahrenheit, could go even higher than that, could approach the doorstep of triple digits. It's a beautiful day to look at. Blue sky, light breeze that's very persistent, but it is hot. It is hot. As you can see from my deflated little bean. We don't get to go on long walks. We just don't. Our ears perk up when I say that word. But the reality is as far away as the man in the moon. Even first thing in the morning, it's brutal outside. Just brutal. I have been watching the weather, but only indifferently because I don't think this is going to change anytime soon. I think we're going to be in the 90s Fahrenheit until further notice, probably until mid-August. I don't see the storm system, the weather system, the frontal system that would have to change this would have to come from Canada. And I don't see any hint of that at all. There's the chance of a stray thunderstorm tomorrow. I've been looking at, I look at the data and the various radar apps and whatnot, but I also watch news forecasts and read forecasts, especially when weather becomes critical like this. It goes long stretches where it's not. But this is as critical as a blinding blizzard. This is extreme weather, where you're in extreme danger if you're outside for any length of time. And the forecasts have been saying rain tomorrow, possibly heavy thunderstorms. I don't think it's going to rain at all. And if it does, I think it will be a stray shower here or there. It's not going to dent the weather at all. The weather tomorrow is going to be just as hot as it is today. And I don't see it changing anytime in the upcoming week. I think right now the Bean and I are living with the electric fan on the floor and with the little AC unit in the window. We're just living on that. And even that is, when the temperature is 96 degrees Fahrenheit, even that is only going to claw your way to a kind of equilibrium. It's not going to provide any comfort. As you can see, the Bean is slightly panting. She is hot. Part of the reason for that is because she insists on being in the sun on her little perch up there, which, you know, I've got the AC unit running, I've got the fan running, I've got the room closed off so that the cooled air stays here. But even so, it's hotter on that little perch. But will she get down? No, she will not. She's a little stubborn. But we're getting through it. We've scaled back our activity to a bare minimum, which is what you should do too. Remember to hydrate a huge amount of water every day, and scale back your activities. Don't think that if you're well hydrated, you're safe doing anything kind of strenuous outside. I know young people do that, even older people who ought to know better do it, and then when they survive, they think, see? It's no big deal. Familiarize yourself with the many, many guides online to heat exhaustion and also heat stroke, and pamper yourself. When the weather is like this, when it's this hot for this long, so there are no pockets of relief anymore, pamper yourself. But even though we have been restricting our activities, and even though it's pretty much as tedious for me as it is for her, I like breaking up the day with lots of walks. We can't do that. We absolutely can't do that. I made it clear to her a week ago when this started that if she wants to pee or poop in the house, she's perfectly free to do that. Just go out into the kitchen and go on the floor. I will clean it up, and I will not be angry or upset at all. And she was mortified by that idea. She's a bit of a neat freak and actively does not want to do that. So, but despite the fact that it's a Sunday, a roasting hot Sunday, just roasting hot outside, I have mail to share with you. A pile of mail came late last night, as it often does on Saturdays. We get a different driver, different delivery people, and different routes for the weekend. It came so late that I had stopped looking for it. And it's a good pile. It's a package and 3 boxes. So I thought we'd go through that today to sort of take our mind off the weather. Off the weather and how bad it is. Now, I know what I want. I want August finished copies. But we'll see. We'll see what we have here. Okay, I touched an invoice. We don't want that. And because there's only an invoice, so I don't know when this is coming out. This is from Harvard University Press. I'll have to look this up. But this is The Triumph of Broken Promises, The End of the Cold War and the Rise of Neoliberalism by Fritz Bartel. And there is, for those of you who are born in the 21st century, that is President Ronald Reagan, U.S. President Ronald Reagan, and Russian President Gorbachev. They met a couple of times and changed the world. Who is Fritz Bartel? He's young. He's assistant professor of international affairs at the Bush School of Government and Public Service at Texas A&M University. Okay, well, I don't have a sheet for this, but we can still read about it. Baby, are you okay? Huh? Are you all right? You're panting up there. Your fans are going to be worried. You can come down off your perch, you know. Want to come down here? Come on, come down out of the sun, Freedom. There you go. There you go. There you go. Sorry, you don't get to see her anymore. But at least, I mean, you can see how bright that is. It's better, by far, that she be away from that. Oh, no, baby. She likes it when I call her down from that perch, when I invite her to come down. She will often do it, and then press herself against me, and that's a bad idea, too. What you need to do here, baby, shift over just a bit so that you're not pressed against me. There you go. All right. What have we got here? Why did the Cold War come to a peaceful end? And why did neoliberal economics sweep across the world in the late 20th century? In this path-breaking study, the author argues that the answer to these questions is one and the same. The Cold War began as a competition between capitalist and communist governments to expand their social contracts as they raced to deliver their people a better life. But the economic shocks of the 1970s made promises of better living untenable on both sides of the Iron Curtain. Energy and financial markets placed immense pressure on governments to discipline their social contracts. Rather than make promises, political leaders were forced to break them. In a sweeping narrative, this book tells the story of how the pressure to break promises spurred the end of the Cold War. In the West, neoliberalism provided Western leaders like Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher with the political and ideological tools to shut down industries, impose austerity, and favor the interests of capital over labor. Pressure to break promises did that? They didn't want to do that on their own? But in Eastern Europe, revolutionaries like Lech Walesa in Poland resisted any attempts at imposing market discipline. Gorbachev tried in vain to reform the Soviet system, but the necessary changes ultimately presented too great a challenge. Faced with imposing economic discipline antithetical to communist ideals, Soviet-style governments found their legitimacy irreparably damaged. But in the West, politicians could promote austerity as the antidote to excesses of ideological opponents, setting the stage for the rise of neoliberal global economy. Okay, well, I lived through this era, and more importantly, I wrote through it. I wrote editorials all throughout, op-eds all throughout this era, and have read an enormous amount about both these gentlemen, but even so, that summary sounds like a David Murphy book. I'm wondering if maybe I should send this winging its way to him. But anyway, that was the only envelope. Then all we have are boxes left, which is always nice. Boxes are fun. They enhance the Christmas morning feeling of all of this. So let's see what the first one of these is. Boxes are almost always finished copies, which is good. Okay, the first one is an August finished copy. Great. This is for August 9th. We've already seen this on this channel. This is Tim Burkhead's book, Birds and Us, in the finished copy from Princeton University Press. A 12,000-year history from cave art to conservation. Spanning contents and millennia, this book chronicles the beginnings of a written history of birds and the development of ornithological science. Moving from ancient Egypt to the 20th century, the book tells the story of the emergence of bird watching and the field study of birds, and how they triggered an extraordinary flowering of knowledge and empathy for birds, eventually leading to today's massive worldwide interest in birds and the realization of the urgent need to save them. And I have, since we got the advanced copy of this thing, I have read it, and I really enjoyed it. It's really, really good. This finished copy is pretty heavy. Oh, okay, great, because it has these color plates all throughout. There are birds on the Bayou Tapestry. And this will probably have bird cave art. Yes, this is a cave in Spain that has Neolithic bird art in it. I wonder if this will give us examples. Yes, yes it does. So that's from thousands and thousands of years ago, probably long before anyone in Egypt thought to paint a bird. And this has black and white spot illustrations throughout as well. No wonder there's heavy stock paper. Great. Okay, so that is an August finished copy, and I'd be willing to bet that what was this other one called? The Triumph of Broken Promises. I'd be willing to bet that's an August book as well. And we'll move on to this next one here. We're doing fine. We're not overheating. the bean is not overheating on her shelf anymore. That's great. Oh, fantastic. All right, this is another finished copy for August. Great. Great. We've already seen this, but it is a joy to show it to you again. This is the finished copy of Brad Snyder's biography of Justice Felix Frankfurter, Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurter, called Democratic Justice. Great big thing from W.W. Norton. Fantastic. So this comes out at the end of August. And let's see, oh my God, look at how long the description is. It just goes on forever and ever. We're not going to read that. The conventional wisdom about Felix Frankfurter is that he was a failure and a disappointment as a Supreme Court Justice from 1939 to 1962. In the eyes of critics, Frankfurter was a crusading progressive educator and lawyer who became an inflexible conservative justice, betraying the causes he tirelessly supported earlier in his career. Georgetown law professor and author Brad Snyder undertakes a sweeping reevaluation of Frankfurter's life and legacy. This epic biography not only definitively debunks the standard take on the influential justice, but reveals the crucial role Frankfurter played in the creation of an enduring liberal political class. And then it goes on for, remembrance of things past. I'm not going to read the rest of that. This comes out at the end of the month. I have a huge sweet tooth for the U.S. Supreme Court. I used to read all their rulings. Now that they are an explicitly Republican political organization, I'm not so much interested in them. That lifelong interest in the doings of the U.S. Supreme Court pretty much died just a few weeks ago. And I don't see it reviving. Now that this Supreme Court, the Roberts Court, is an explicitly political Republican administration. It's just... it's a little jarring to see it that way because these people are not accountable and can change the fabric of your daily life. Unlike, at least theoretically, the other two branches of government where the people have some say. They don't have any say in this. Which is why the founders and a few of the essential formative justices on the Supreme Court thought it was so important that it be above politics, because it's not accountable. Now it has revealed itself as not only a Republican branch of government, but an arch-theocratic one, an archly Christo-fascist, explicitly theocratic arm of the Republican Party, a forewarning, a foretaste of what's going to happen when the other two branches of government are also theocratic Republican ruled. It's a foretaste of that. But make no mistake, the current supermajority on the U.S. Supreme Court is theocratically fascist. And their rulings are not based on law or due process or stare decisis or precedent of any kind. Their rulings are based on religion, on Christianity, on a particularly Seven Mountains Dominionism Christianity. Their rulings are based on their faith, on their religious faith, saying that individual personhood starts at conception with two cells meeting each other is a religious belief in souls, in the soul. That is a Christian belief in the soul. It's not based on law. It's certainly not based on science. That is you saying there's a soul. And that is an explicitly religious contention, and it's not the only one. Good Lord. And so this is sort of a melancholy thing. I've actually read this, but I'm very much looking forward to reading it again. It's a big, serious work of scholarship, so I'll be wanting to study the bibliography. I'm assuming that there is no explicit bibliography. There'll just be notes. Can I be right about that? Acknowledgements. Okay. notes. Okay, good 100 pages of notes. That's fantastic. Great. A selected bibliography. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means. I want to know what you consulted to write this book. All of it. I want to know all of it. I don't want to know some of it. I want to know all of it. I'm amazed to find even a select biography, but bibliography. But when it comes to, I'm going to be reviewing this book for the Christian Science Monitor, so I want to have a full possession of it, and you can't do that when you don't have the critical apparatus, most of which is missing in the advanced copy of big works of nonfiction. So I'm very glad this goes right to the top of the list tonight to start diving into and rereading. It's a little melancholy, though. I was overjoyed to see this on the forthcoming list. I was overjoyed at the idea of reading it. But it's melancholy because my interest in this subject has now radically changed. I'm still interested in the doings of the Supreme Court and the politicians who are on it, but it's a political interest. It's the same as my interest in the leaders of the Senate or in who's in the Oval Office. It's literally exactly the same now because it has nothing to do with jurisprudence. It has to do with politics. This is a political arm of the government. And I know there are cynics and critics who would say that it's always been that. It hasn't been. But now it is not only that, but explicitly that. And that changes everything. And I know, Frankfurter had nothing to do with that, but it changes it retroactively. New Supreme Court justice biographies, which I used to consume eagerly like catnip, are going to feel different now. It's inevitable that they are. But I read my advanced copy of this and really liked it. So it is much like Birds and Us. It is a very a tentative, but presumptive, very positive recommendation. Birds and Us, not so much. The only thing that was missing from Birds and Us in the advanced copy was the color photography. The Felix Frankfurter book, I don't want to make it a complete recommendation yet because there are some valuable things I need to do to it first. I need to rip it apart on an autopsy table first, whereas Birds and Us, not so much. So anyway, that's that, and then we'll move on to the last box here, which is also really heavy, so I'm assuming it's another finished copy. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! All right, well, it is another finished copy. It's the same finished copy. Oh, no. So it's a double. Oh, okay. Well, that, I guess, means that I have a copy to send out. If one of you shares my abiding interest in the Supreme Court, then, I have a second copy that I'd be happy to pop in the mail, provided you are in the United States. I've been burned too many times with overseas mailing fees that don't get to their destinations to even bother to try anymore. But in the United States mailing still tends to work. And it's not. I shouldn't fault the international mailing system quite so much, because often when it comes to mailing things to you, the fault is yours as much as it is the international mailing system, where I will say, okay, you live in India, or you live in Ireland, or you live in Scotland, fine, I'll mail this to you, I'll just absorb the cost. What's the address? And you send me an address, and the first few hundred times, I mailed it off to that address, and it just disappeared. It never reached you, it never got back to me. And then I wised up, and when you would send me the address, I would say, okay, but this doesn't look complete. Is this absolutely complete? And you would write back and say, there is an element I left out. Huh. Well, okay, yeah, here it is. And I would wait a day or two to calm down, and then I would say, are you 100% sure this address is complete? Does it have every item it needs to get to you? And people would write back and say, I forgot something else. Well, screw that. No. So I'm not going to bother with that anymore. Instead, I'll just keep it domestic. But if you live in America and you are interested in the subject, Felix Frankfurter, I find it hard to believe. But if any BookTube channel subscribers are going to say yes to that, it's going to be this one. So if you are, you now know that I have a double. So I'd be happy to send it off to you. But anyway, that is the mail. We have a double dose of democratic justice. Very nice. A big release, a big serious scholarly release in August. Not many of those. That's great to see. Then Birds and Us, a new Bird book that clearly must go to a certain Pittsburgh reviewer, and The Triumph of Broken Promises, which on the paper looked like a Reagan book, which I never miss. I never miss a Reagan book, but I don't know. The more I read it, the more it sounds like an economics book. I'll still read it, absolutely. I just have to figure out when it comes out. I'm pretty sure all of these are August releases. But that is a little surprise ninja mail, all nonfiction, all on Steve's subjects: the Supreme Court, Ronald Reagan, and birds. So I'm overjoyed. If I'm not seeming completely overjoyed, it's because it's so hot. It's just so hot here. I know I don't have grounds to complain. It is much hotter elsewhere and has been for much longer. And also, I have this plucky little AC unit that is plugging away in the window. On a day like today, almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit, there's only so much that it can do. It can make this room bearable. It can't make this room cool. But even there, it's more than a lot of people have. So, but even so, it's sapping my will. So I'm going to wrap up this mail haul, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.